Thank you again for inviting me to this Stride Forum. My name is Naren Vyavahare. I'm a faculty and Hunter Endowed Chair of Bioengineering at Clemson University. I joined Clemson in '99 as assistant professor, and before that, I was at University of Michigan and University of Pennsylvania as a research faculty. In the last 25 years, my area of research has been in health research, in particular in cardiovascular health. As you know, cardiovascular diseases are still number one killer for the US, and it is a tremendous cost burden for us. Although we have done a lot of improvements in diagnostics and imaging in this field, there's still a lot of challenges remain. And that's where my research is actually trying to figure out ways to find therapies and devices that can work better. So that's what I'm doing. I started working on heart valves when I was in Michigan. This was in '90s, and that's where I realized that heart valve implants. Our heart is made up of four valves, and those valves allow one-way blood flow to your lungs and your whole body. And this heart has to function every second, and these valves are very important for its function. And what happens with some people are born with congenital heart problems, so their valves are not working very well. Or some people, as you get older, get the valves get diseased, and these valves need replacements. And right now, what we use is called a bioprosthetic heart valve, which is a tissue derived. It's a animal tissue derived heart valve, and that valves are put in patients, and they work for some time, but they also have problem of calcification and deterioration. They actually tear apart, so you need to replace again. So this is one of the problems that I started working on in '90s, and worked on finding out treatments for preventing calcification of heart valves. And I think I'm happy that one of the treatments I worked on there is now clinically used in heart valves. Another area of my research is a vascular health. As you know, all the blood vessels or arteries we have that take your blood from your heart all the way to your all organs and your body part. When you see a pulse here in your heart, in your arm, that is actually arteries are pulsing and sending the blood to different parts of your body. These arteries need to be elastic. They have to provide blood flow to all your organs. And what happens with age and also a lot of diseases like diabetes and kidney disease, these arteries become stiff and they become calcified, and they cannot really put effort. They cannot really put blood into organs because of this stiffness, and then that causes pressure on your heart. Heart becomes enlarged, and you get pulmonary hypertension. A lot of different conditions can happen. Heart attack can happen. Pulmonary hypertension, aortic aneurysms, a lot of diseases happen because of these arteries are getting calcified or degradation of these arteries. When I was working on it on this, I realized that one of the very important protein we have in our body, in our arteries, is elastin. This is like a rubber band in our arteries that allows these arteries to pulsate. And if that elastin is actually made only once in your lifetime, when you're young, about 18 years of age, our body stops making this elastic fiber. And if you degrade elastin because of you have plaque in your arteries or you have diabetes, that can cause degradation of elastin. Then our body cannot really repair elastin. And that's where I realized, there's a big gap of knowledge in this area, and I need to really figure out how can we stop degradation of elastin. How can we really repair elastin in patients? And that's where my research actually started. And when I came in Clemson, last 20-25 years, I'm working on this one protein that makes so much difference. They have strokes, heart attacks, pulmonary hypertension, lung problems. Everything happens because of this elastin damage. And my hope is to find treatments that can be used in patients in my lifetime. This is a field that takes long time to get something from your research to clinics. And I hope that I can come up with a therapy that goes in patients soon. So my motivation for this research, from childhood, I wanted to become a doctor or a clinician. And I was always fascinated with the human body, how it works. All organs work in unison, and every cell. I think about a cell. It is only 20 micron small size, but it has so many functions. Every cell is making hundreds of products every minute, and is packaging them, sorting them out, sending it out different, it's like a factory at a very, very small scale. And that really fascinated me in biology, how this whole thing works and how we actually age and how we actually degrade this function with time. And that's where I really wanted to work on. But I got my degree in organic chemistry as a master's, but I wanted to use this chemistry background to apply to medical field. That was my area. So I know in PhDs, I started working on creating a materials, biomaterials for medical use. So that's where I got motivation from. And as I went through, University of Michigan, where I realized the field of heart valves and cardiovascular diseases. That's where I got my motivation. I said, okay, this is the area that I can make some contributions, and that really helped me a lot for last 20 25 years. And I get excited every day to get up and do something in this area. If you ask me how do I discover my passion, I think passion comes from really that research in heart valves that really opened my eyes to cardiovascular diseases. And cardiovascular disease is still a problem. And I said elastin is a protein that actually plays a significant role in how our body works, and it has really a major problem in many diseases. Like emphysema in your lungs, skin gets older with elastin goes away, your arteries become stiffer. So everything was based on elastin. I found out in literature that so many things are going on in elastin, but there was not much research because there are actually conferences on elastin, how elastin is made, but there was no therapy nor no solution in the field. I looked at for a lot of times, and then I think, okay, maybe I can make some contribution in this area based on my research here. So that's what I really started working on, and hopefully, I think by the end of my career, I'll have some therapies that actually repair elastin in your body. So I think if I had to define a translation of research translation, what I feel as a translation is a application of a gained knowledge for the good of society. That's what I think is a translation is. A translation can be a publication, a nice publication to build a knowledge base that people can use. It can be also inspiring new students or new generation of scientists that can go out and make their own contributions. But I still feel applying your research to unsolved problems in my field is a medical field, and putting in practice some best solutions for this problem is what is really translation is. I know. I really wish that stride kind of program we had 25 years ago when I joined Clemson. In that time, TPR committee was just looking at how do you excel in teaching, how do you find publications, publish papers, and those are the important things were for TPR evaluations, and coming up with creating translatable ideas or invention disclosures was not on the radar that time. But unfortunately for me, I was in the bioengineering department, and bioengineering itself is a kind of applied field. We're applying engineering solutions to biological problems. And my background in University of Michigan and University of Pennsylvania, big universities, where I realized that invention disclosures are very important before I publish. So I started all these invention disclosures very early in my career. And what I feel like translation is in this field, bench to bedside, we call it. Doing something on the bench and actually putting them in patients. It's a long journey in our field. It takes 20 years or maybe 30 years to get actually something out. And the other problem we have as a junior faculty, we are told that publish or perish is the philosophy we have. We have to publish quickly, but that is not really a problem. That can be a problem. Once you publish something, no company can use it because it becomes a public knowledge and they cannot make exclusive products out of it. So it becomes open source knowledge that is not useful. So I think it is very important for junior faculty to understand that you have to protect not only for your benefit, for benefit of society, that you protect your research before you publish. I think maybe stride like program that we have right now maybe help this new faculty to come up with this kind of philosophy that we need to protect our work before we publish. So the main challenges in translation in my field, I'm in a bioengineering field where we create with medical devices or therapies for human patients, and this can be very difficult. It's a very long process in our field. It takes long, decades of research in research and development. millions of dollars. Maybe some of the therapies might take $100 million. So it's really a lot of money and time is required for taking something from your lab to going back in the research, going back in the patients. So there's a big, you can get a lot of funding for your basic research in your lab, in like NIH, NSF can give you funding, but taking that published knowledge and putting in the practice, there's a valley of death. There's actually an area where you have a lot of funding is required, but nobody will put money because it's not been proven yet. You have a small animal study or a cell culture study, and you want to go in the humans. So that big valley of death is where investors, you need to have a lot of investments, and this is the phase that is very difficult. Very few people can actually take this from bench to bedside because of this. 99% of therapies fail in this area. So I think another very important area area problem in our field is FDA. FDA has a very stringent guidelines. Anything that goes in your human body has to be safe, and to show that safety and show that it's not causing harm to patients, it can take years and also millions of dollars. And another problem is that large companies want to play it safe. Whatever products they have, they're selling it. They do not want to really invest in something new, completely new, that might be cause some kind of lawsuits or something later on. So they want to play it safe. Most of the work they think right now, the model is like small companies, like a startup company will develop something, they can take up to the toxicology, make sure that it's safe, and large companies will acquire it. So that's how the model works in biomedical field. So actually it is advantageous for starting a startup company in this field, because not many large companies really invest at the early stage. So you have to find some investors, or maybe family offices that are excited to put some money in this kind of area, and you can come up with some good startup companies in this area. Another, I think, problem also is pediatric, pediatric condition. Children diseases or children problems are very small in size. Like market is very small, so not many companies actually invest in pediatric devices. But I think FDA is now changing it. FDA created these consortiums for pediatric device, and they have created like 8 different consortiums, and they're trying to help people to create medical devices for children. And I think one of my companies now got sponsored by these consortiums, and they're developing a conduit for pediatric patients. So it's changing now. Translation. So what influenced my decision? My decision to go in the bioengineering field. As I said again, my field in the heart valve research in 90s, early 90s, really put a foundation for my research. That okay, I want to be in the cardiovascular field. I want to make degree, find out therapies for patients in this field, and discovery of actually finding elastin degradation is a major problem, and there's no solution right now to prevent degradation of elastin or repair elastin. That gap of in knowledge, I really got excited that maybe I can use my own knowledge in chemistry to find some kind of compounds that can bind to elastin and stop degradation of elastin. And that is what I really started working on for last 25 years. That was my really decision to really work in this field for last 25 years. If you think about the significant milestones that I have achieved so far, I think first thing I can talk about is mentoring next generation of scientists. I have done a lot of work on working with many students and postdoctoral fellows as well as faculty. Now they are themselves are leaders in industries and academics. Some of them are faculty. They have their own startup companies. So that is really satisfying to see that not only you are creating working on a science, but you're also creating next generation of scientists that will take this field further. So that is one of the things when I came to Clemson. Clemson was good in getting funding from NSF or like DOD, but we didn't have much funding from NIH and National Institute of Health. And I really thought maybe we need to work on health research and create some kind of a center here. So there was a kind of institute. NIH has a program called Cobre Center. So it's called Center of Biomedical Research Excellence, and they were trying to create these centers in states that have lower funding of NIH. So I realized this can be a very good opportunity for Clemson to get into it. And in 2007, I started becoming getting a coalition of faculty, outstanding faculty from MUSC, USC, and Clemson. And I came up with this program of a center of excellence in tissue engineering, creating medical devices that actually repair themselves in the body. And that center got funded in 2009, and we got like $25 million so far in last 15 years. And that really helped us to create a lot of good facilities for health research in Clemson, as well as I could actually mentor so many faculty. Now, most of them are themselves have their own companies, and they have their own our own in NIH funded research. So that is very satisfying to see. Not only I could start my own companies, and I have like 3 4 companies I started with my own research, but I also mentored others to actually get their own research going. So that's what I'm more satisfied about. I think my approach to difficult decisions, I think, research is always most times it's failure, right? Thomas Edison said, I have not failed. I have found thousand ways to that won't work. And that really makes me an impact on my life. I feel like failure is actually a way to understand something does not work and learn from your mistakes, find some other solutions, go pivot and find, you always learn from your mistakes. And not only that, do not work alone in silos. I always thought talking to, mentors, colleagues, even students, and talk about these problems. Somebody might come up with a better solution than you think is possible. And I think that's happened for me many times. Even students have come up with solutions for me that I did not think of. So it's always a good idea to talk to people. Difficult decisions always, oh, it should be open about it, and do not just think about yourself. Get help from others. I think that's what I've done in my life, and I think that worked on. Another thing very important I thought about is out of box thinking. Do not just stay in your field. Try to learn from other fields. So a lot of reading in different areas, and try to see if you can apply knowledge from other field to your area. I think that also really helps to find some solutions. So that's my kind of philosophy in last 20 years. My decision making process in research is really a top to bottom approach. I really go and find, in my field, my customers are clinicians. So talking to clinicians, finding out what are the problems they're facing right now, and why something does not work. Is there any way to find a solution for that particular problem? Is what I really look for. First, I look at problem. What is the problem? Is there a solution that I can find which is simple? And the other problem is that you cannot have complex solutions. Clinicians do not want to change their practice. They want something that's simple, adaptable, quick practical solution. So I know I need to work backwards. I look at problem and then slowly come down and say, okay, this is the way I can make it a simple change that they can adapt and they can actually use it practically. So I think that's what I do all the time for all my research. We go back and always iterate, talk to surgeons. Is it work? Will it work this way? If they say, no, no, this is too complex, then I go back and try to find solutions again. So that's how my decision making process works. I always talk from top to bottom. I never think about coming up something very unique and then trying to find problems that these things can solve. And that is not the way to work in this field, in my field at least. And my advice to other researchers is that seek voice of customers. I think this is very important. That's what I was telling you about, talking to clinicians in my area, but it can be somebody else in some other field. You need to find to customers, find what are the current challenges they're facing, why there are challenges, why somebody has not come up with solution, what obstacles that people are facing, and why, so what solutions others have worked on. We have to look at all these things, problems that have, and you can create like a matrix and see why is there a gap in knowledge that you can fill. You have something that is better than somebody else. Do you have some easier solution for that problem? If you can think in that directions, you can come up with a solution. And again, when you create a solution, it has to be scalable. I think one of the problems I had in my lab, in my research, is that I made something in the lab and I could not scale it to a commercial scale. And you can send millions of dollars scaling up. So you always think about your solution has to be scalable. If it is not scalable, is it a cost prohibitive? If it is too expensive, nobody's going to use it. So you have to really think about from different angles, and not only as a research angle, but to take this research to a market is a very difficult proposition, and it takes millions of dollars. And so you have to start thinking early. How can it be scalable to a large scale? And that's one of the things I can tell other researchers. And again, I tell them do not develop ideas first, try and then apply this for solutions to problems. Try to find problems first, and then try to start with solutions. We also need to be excited about your research. If you show passion and excitement, actually it becomes infectious. Like people like it, you like it so much that they want to also invest in your research. So I think you have to be excited about your own research. Also, very important that you have to find partners. You have to have a well-rounded team. I realized early, this maybe after 10 years of trying to find people, I found out that you need to find the people that are as passionate as you are to actually make some kind of impact on the society. You don't want any partners that are just looking for making quick profit. That does not work, and that is the problem. I always had, in my case at least, I had to find people that have passion in it. You also need to have well-rounded team. You need to have like a business people that they understand how business works, how to get investments in the company, as well as you need a financing people. You also need legal counsel, so see everything is kind of protected. So this team building is a very important thing. As a scientist, a lot of times professors they think they know everything and they can do it, but I feel like science is only 20%. 80% is execution. How do you execute this? Taking something from the lab to clinic is a lot of different areas are involved, and you need to have a team that understands that problem. So delegate responsibilities to others. Let the others do their business. You be focused on finding solutions. I think that's what I can tell other researchers, and I think that's what I'm again very thankful for this opportunity to talk to Stride, and I'm available for people if they want to talk to me about my experience and how they can actually avoid some mistakes that I have done in my past, so that they can go faster than me. Thank you.